welcome to the No Fear Sock Knitting class. My name is Denise and this is class 6A, the Kitchener Stitch. We have been covering our sock knitting in the last 6 classes, and we have also discussed that one of the hardest parts of the sock is the gusset, is the heel flap and gusset. The other very difficult part for many knitters is the Kitchener stitch. It is a huge reason, the avoidance of the Kitchener stitch is a huge reason why so many sock knitters choose to knit their socks toe up, so they can just avoid it altogether. They just don't even want to deal with it. I personally enjoy working the Kitchener stitch or stitching that stitch. It really feels like I've completed my socks. They are perfectly woven together. I absolutely love doing it, and I have learned a tip or a trick over the years to make it a little bit easier, and I hope that this video will help you understand. And that's what this whole course has been about this whole time, is really understanding the how and the why things are done. And I think that with that understanding, you are better able to knit your stitches, see your stitches, and understand what's going on in your hand. So today we are going to cover the Kitchener stitch. I will be showing you 2 different ways to do it. We will be doing it a 4-step method and a 2-step method. Okay, I will write that down for you because there's a little mantra that I kind of say to myself as I do it, and I will put that in the show notes down below for you. And as always, please leave your comments, questions, anything in the description box down below. And if you have any additional questions that may be too big for the description box, or you just want to ask privately, feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer your emails, and I will get them answered as quickly as I can. So let's go over the Kitchener stitch, everybody. Now, the whole point of the Kitchener stitch is to, of course, why do I do this every week? I'm like the absent-minded professor that leaves their material someplace else. Okay, going off camera for 1 second. Okay, I'm right here. Okay, here I am. Are you guys tired of me doing that yet? All right, so the whole point of the Kitchener stitch is to weave, let me put this here so the camera doesn't see me but just sees the stitching, is to close the toe of your sock. So we've had stitches on one side of the sock on the front, and then stitches on the back, and we have these live stitches here. So this is what it will look like. Okay, so we've been knitting along, and now we have to close this space and make this look like this. Okay, and the way this, I'm going to put my hand down in the sock, so just to open it up for you a little bit. There we go. Okay, what you want to do here is have the stitches look as if they are just rolling over the top and the knitting is continuous. Okay, so by using the Kitchener stitch, by utilizing the Kitchener stitch, you are weaving, essentially taking a tapestry needle, which I have. Seriously? Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Here's your tapestry needle. Okay, there it is. You're going to take a tapestry needle, and I do recommend, the size of the needle doesn't matter that much. It really doesn't. I get these from Clover. Clover is the brand that carries these. There's blue top. It comes in a little vial, like a little tube. The tube can have a blue top or a yellow top. Does not matter. The needles that are in the yellow topped tube by Clover, those have the tip of the needle. It has a little hook, like a little curve, like it's bent. So it's a little easier to go into the stitch. It's more of a hooked movement to go into the stitch. It does not matter which one you have. It really does not. I will try to put a link for you down below to the Clover needles on Amazon. You can get them at Webb's. You can get them from your local yarn shop. They should be very easy to find. I've seen them at Michael's, Joann's, very inexpensive. And I keep one of these, or sometimes even 2 of these, in every one of my Notions packages. And I keep a little Notions pouch in every bag, every one of my project bags. So I've got a lot of these, and I have tape measures, all that stuff in there. So you're going to need one of these. You are going to need your sock, and you're going to need a length of yarn in order to weave it. So let's get started. I will show you how to do that right now. So I have now completed all of the decreases for my sock and I am ready to close the toe. This method can be applied to, the Kitchener stitch is applied to any and all methods of sock knitting, whether you are on 2 circular needles. I am on 2 circulars here because that is my go-to. It is going to be the exact same for 2 circular, for magic loop, for double pointed needles, and you also have to take, if you're doing this via a 9-inch circular needle, you will still have to go back and put this on straight needles so that you can do the Kitchener stitch. There's, unless I'm missing something, there really is no way to do this on a circular needle. So what I have done, I have finished my decreases and I am going to now start. As you can see, my working yarn was here because I finished knitting. I now am going to put it between the 2 needles. I'm going to slide my stitches to the end of the needle. Okay. And I'm ready to begin. Now, how much yarn am I going to need? Let me pull the camera back a little bit. Here we go. There we go. How much yarn am I going to need in order to do this? You really don't need a lot. What you can do is just kind of measure back and forth, maybe 3-4 times. I mean, you can eyeball this. You need maybe 12 inches or so. It really doesn't matter. So I've got about that much. I'm going to break it off here. And you don't want it to be too long because you're going to be pulling the yarn through the stitches. And if it's too long, it's just going to get in your way. I mean, for any of you that sew, that do any kind of hand sewing, if you ever sew on a button or sew a hem in something, you usually don't want your thread to be too long because then it just kind of pulls and it can snag as you are sewing. So the same thing applies here. So I have now, wait, I realized I did that rather quickly and some of you may want to see that again. So I'm just going to thread my needle, and what I do is just put it over, I put the thread, hold on. All I do is put the thread over the hole like this. I put it over the hole and I wrap it around the needle to get a point. Then I'm just going to slide this through and my needle is threaded. Okay. That is not important. It really does not matter how you thread your needle. So here we go. Okay. I'm going to slide these to the end. I'm going to come up a little closer. Let me move the camera back down a little bit. Okay. And here we go. The key to successfully working the Kitchener stitch is to keep this yarn between the needles. I will say that again. The key to working the Kitchener stitch is to keep the yarn between the needles and almost under them. Okay, this is where you want that thread to come from, and it is coming from the back needle. Okay, can everybody see that? I'm going to come up a little closer and I'm going to show you that again. This is where you want your yarn to be. Okay, and what we're going to do, I'm going to start with the traditional way of doing this, the 4-step method. We're going to start with the 4-step method first. So now if you've ever seen this in a reference book, it's knit. We're not doing a setup round also. Sometimes there is a setup round for the Kitchener stitch. I'm not doing a setup round. I'm doing this exactly the way that I have successfully done it for many, many, many pairs of socks. So the little mantra is you knit, slip off, purl, then you purl, slip off, knit. Okay, it's those 4 steps. So you knit, slip off, then you purl, slip off, then you knit. The 2 middle stitches are going to be the same actions done to the middle stitches. Does that make sense? So now let's see that. My yarn stays here, okay? I'm going to knit, and you have to come kind of close to the edge. Don't be nervous about that. You're going to do this slowly, everybody. There is no race. I'm putting this down because I just need to. Let's pull that through a little more. It's not a race. There is no rush. Take your time, okay? And I'm not going to lie, undoing the Kitchener stitch is not easy or fun. So you definitely want to be careful as you do this. So what I'm going to do, again, my yarn's coming from here. I'm going to give myself a little bit of space and put my finger between the 2 needles, just to give myself space, no other reason. I'm going to take my needle as if to knit. I'm going to pretend I'm working this as if it is a knitting needle. I'm going to go into the first stitch as if to knit, pull my yarn through, yarn stays down, and I'm going to slide it off. Okay, then I'm going to into the second stitch on the same needle, and I'm going into the stitch as if to purl. So I just knit and slid off. Now I'm going to purl and leave on. I'm going to the back needle now. I am going to purl, bring my yarn through, and slip it off. Then I'm going to knit this stitch and leave it on. Whoops, come on. And leave it on. I have just removed 2 stitches from my needles, one on the front, one on the back. Okay, and it's not going to start to make sense yet until you go a little further in. So again, the motion is knit, pull the yarn through, slip off, then you're going to purl, leave it on. Now, you see where the yarn just went? It's just the yarn feeding through. Just pull it back down. You are in control, and slide it through. Stays underneath. That stays on. I'm going to open these back up a little bit more. I am going to put that through as if to purl, slide it off. Then I'm going to go into the second stitch on the needle. Now, you see what's happening here? You see where the yarn has now wrapped around this needle? No, I need it to stay between the two. Pull it back down. That is going to be your constant motion. Okay, and now I have just taken 2 stitches off. Now, as you can see, you can start to see that it's starting very, very slowly, starting to look like it's rolling over the top. So now let's just clarify. The Kitchener stitch is worked over 4 stitches at once. Okay, so you're working in groups of 4, and I will explain what happens when you get to the end. So let's keep going. I'm going to do this, as always, in real time for you. So I'm going to go in as if to knit. And I know this looks terrifying to some of you, but I just think it's fantastic. Okay, so I've just gone through, keeping the yarn down, slide that off, go into the next stitch on the needle. This is stitch number 2. Bring this back down. Okay, purl, leave it on. Go into the other needle. This is the 3rd stitch. Okay, I'm going to purl, slide it off, go into stitch number 4, as if to knit, and again, see where the yarn is? Make sure you keep pulling it underneath. There we go. Okay, and look at that, you guys. It's magic. I love this so much. I know people don't like it, but I love doing the Kitchener stitch. I find that once you start to see that weaving rollover effect happening, it's magic to me. I absolutely love it. Okay, keeping the stitches, the needles apart, and it's going to get harder as the hole closes. It's going to get harder opening this. So just kind of juggle it a little bit. You may be able to get your finger through. You can stagger it. And it doesn't matter that you're seeing the inside of the sock. It does not matter that you're seeing the purl stitches. You are still treating them and working into them the way that I've been saying. So again, let's do this without the threading for a moment. It's these 4 stitches. I'm covering the other ones. It's knit, slip off, purl, leave on. Stitch 1, knit, slip off. Stitch 2, purl, leave on. Stitch 3, purl, slide off. Stitch 4, knit, leave on. That is your mantra, okay? I do sincerely wish there were a way. Let me see if I can hold it this way so you can see it a little bit. But see, the needle still, what would be great is if I could open this way and kind of hold it open and keep working. And I think it would be a little easier for you to see, and it wouldn't be so confusing staring at those purl stitches. And I know that's another thing that throws some people off, but let's keep going. So you're going to knit, slide insert the needle as if to knit, keep this underneath, slide off, go into the next stitch as if to purl, leave it on. Go into the third stitch, and that's very close to the edge. I can see that. I'm holding it in place with my finger. Go into the third stitch as if to purl. My yarn is always under, even though it looks like it's coming from on top right now. Slide it off. Go into the fourth. Come on, stay down here. Go into the fourth stitch as if to knit. And always keep this yarn between the needles. Okay, I'm coming even closer to the camera. I want to be in the same room with you guys so that you can see this happening. Okay, let's do it again. There, we've got it going on. What you're doing is creating the weaving in and out of the needle is creating the stitch. So you're creating one side of the stitch, then the other side of the stitch, one side of the stitch, then the other, but you're doing that over 2 stitches. So you're doing it here, and then you're doing it here and here, okay? That is what you're doing. You are sewing in the stitches. That's what you're doing. You're creating these stitches that you have been knitting. You are now sewing them into place, okay? That is the nature of the Kitchener stitch. So it's almost like you're knitting with the tapestry needle, okay? Does that make sense? So let's keep going. Okay. And now I'm just going to do it, okay? So we're going to knit, slip off, purl, leave on. Hold on, getting a little too close even for my comfort, okay? As I've always said, it is harder to control this because I'm doing it through the camera, okay? And then I'm going to keep going. And just give it a tug. Now how hard do you have to pull? You don't have to pull that hard. You want to maintain the same tension or come as close to that tension as is in the body of the, sorry, that's a little fluff. You want to maintain the same type of tension that's in the body of the sock in this weaving. So you're not, and you notice I'm not yanking, I'm not pulling hard, I'm not giving this a tug, I'm not doing any of that. It's just a simple, easy, smooth motion. So in, off, in, on, in, off, in, on. And again, I'm just going to pull this through. Okay, and when I get here, I'm going to show you, I'm just going like that. That was it. And that was just a gentle tug. Okay, just like that. Let's keep going. So now, as you're doing this, you should have the same number of stitches. This number should stay the same, okay? You should have 4 here, or however many, 5 and 5, 6 and 6, it doesn't matter, okay? But that number should stay the same. And you're going, when we're finished, we should have 1 here and 1 here. So let's keep going. Okay, that's how it's looking so far. So I'm going to push these back in. So knit, slip off, purl, leave on, purl, slip off, knit, right through there, leave on. Just again, bring that in between. There we go. Look at that, you guys. Let's look at that from this side. Oh, isn't that amazing? Oh my God, that's so amazing. I'm such a geek. I love this stuff so much. Okay, let's keep going. I kind of decided to be quiet there for a moment just to give you guys time to really focus on what I'm doing and not on my voice. Okay, there we go. Now, some of you may have heard of a term called dog ears. And what dog ears are is when you get the last stitch flops around and literally looks like a little flap, like a little dog ear, okay? But as you can see, there are no dog ears on this one. Now, what I'm gonna do, some people have a trick to avoid the dog ear. There's a way of knitting into the 2 stitches at the same time. I'm not showing you that. This is the way I do it. Okay, so I'm almost done. I've got 4 stitches left. So I'm going to work this over the 4. Okay, same thing. Knit, slip off, purl this stitch. I'm going in it right at the base there. Okay, and now I'm holding these very carefully, okay, because it's very easy at this point for these stitches to slip off. I'm going to come in between, just coming into the stitch, just like this, and slide that one off, and then go into this one here, as if to knit. Make sure my yarn, there we go. Now, I've got these 2 left. Now what? Because I've only got 2. I don't have the cluster of 4 anymore. So now you're going to knit and slip off, purl, and slip off. Ta-da! We're done. And we've got a big old flap. So you're going to just give this a little tug. Okay, just like that, and you're done. Now, this little thing here is what people refer to as the dog ear. What I do, I go into the inside. I'm just going into the inside of the sock, just like this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this with my finger. Do you see this space right here? This is the space under the stitches I just worked on, right in that hole, okay? I'm going to insert my needle into that hole. I'm going to turn my sock so I find the inside and find, whoop, don't snag your yarn, as I'm doing right there. Give it a pull. I'm going to go back out so you can, whoops. Okay, it fell off the needle. So now I just have to rethread it because I'm doing this so slowly. All right, I'm just going to thread my needle again. Voila. And I'm going to do that same thing again. Where am I? I'm here. Okay. Here I am. Okay. Find that hole. Going in right there. Going to open this up. Find the inside. And I'm going to pull. And I'm giving it a good tug. This time I'm really tugging. When you go back out, it's this side where I just was. It's right there. And as you can see, there is no dog ear. I've given it a little bit of a pull. And you see where I'm pulling right there? I've given it a tug. There is no dog ear. It's completely smooth. Turn it inside out. And now what I'm going to do here is simply weave this thread in. It really doesn't matter how. You can weave it in along the edges down here, but what I do, I'm going to just go in. Now you see how it's umbrellas and smiles is how I was taught this. So that looks like an umbrella, and this part under here just looks like a little smile. So I'm going to go down through the umbrellas. Okay, move that out of the way. I'm going to go into the next umbrella. Right, oops, right here. And I'm just going to weave across maybe 5. You do not feel this in your toe. I'm going to go through maybe 5 stitches. Where is it? Next one's here. Okay, don't even know how many that was. Maybe 4, 5. Let's do one more. I'm not counting. Go into one more. Okay, now, some people say go back in the direction you just came in. I don't like to do that because I think it creates a little bit of bulk. What I do is now I'm going to go up into the smiles continuing in the same direction. Okay, so now I'm going to go up and I'm not going to create a knot, so just bring this over. This is just standard sewing here. Just bring your yarn out of the way, going up through here. Whoops, sorry, I just hit the camera. Okay, find another little smile. And you don't have to worry about, whoops, doesn't want to behave. Okay, let's try this one. There's no it's not an absolute when you're weaving in on the end. The point is, this is not going to unravel. This is not going to unravel itself back over to here. So now here you're done. You're going to take a pair of clippers. I don't have a pair of scissors. I just have a pair of little snips here. I'm going to, whoops, carefully hold on and just give it a snip. And you're done. That's it, guys. It's done. You're done. There are no dog ears. We have just closed the toe of our sock. And to me, it is absolute magic. There you go. That is the Kitchener stitch in 4 moves. Now we're going to do it in 2 moves. Okay, here is a little sock ornament that I was working on and broke the yarn to do something completely unrelated. So I decided this is actually at a great stage. This is 18 stitches. So I was just going to use this as a demo as well. So we are going to do the same thing. So my working yarn is now coming from a separate ball, but it doesn't matter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work the Kitchener stitch again, but this time we're going to do it in 2 moves instead of 4. Okay. This has been my now go-to method of doing this. I think it's a little bit easier. For me, it's a little bit quicker. It's not about speed. I will say that again. It's absolutely not about speed. But as you get a little more efficient with your knitting, you may want to increase the efficiency, let's put it that way, a little bit better. It's all about choosing your words and saying things the right way, okay? Saying things in a positive way. My husband always says it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So let's get started. Now, we're going to be doing basically the same thing we did before, but in 2 moves instead of 4. So I'm going to pretend this working yarn is just not there. Let's just pretend it isn't there. I've got my needle threaded and I'm ready to go. Got my finger in place. And as I said before, it's easy to put your finger in place when you start because there is room for your finger. As you get closer and more has been eaten up, it becomes a little bit trickier because you can't get your finger in there to hold. But you saw how I did this in the last clip, so you know what to do. So let's just pretend that's not there. We're going to push our needles into place and here we go. So now I'm going to knit slip off, purl. Okay. Now I'm just going to stop when my thread is right there because just pretend that's attached to a ball. Then I'm going to go onto the back needle, purl, slip off, and knit. Oops, that got caught in the bottom there. That's going to happen a lot because this is short. All right, so I'm going to hold my 2 strands on the bottom out of the way. I've got my working yarn here. Hold on, just got to look. Okay, got it. There we go. And that was it. Let's do that many more times, okay? So now I've got my 2 tails just kind of hanging out. I've got my working yarn, so just ignore those 2. You're going to knit, slip off, purl. Now, some of you may say, well, that's still 4 moves. It's not 2 moves. To me, it's just cleaner. Okay. I still see it as 2 moves. So you're off. I'm not pulling the yarn through. That's the difference until I'm through. Whoops. See that? That can happen. Just slide this off and come on through. Okay. Now do it again. The difference is I'm not pulling. The major difference in my mind, it is 2 moves because I'm not pulling the thread through 4 times. I'm only pulling it through 2 times. So I'm going to go in and into the second. So knit, slip off, purl. Then I'm going to purl, slip off, knit. Again, it's getting caught underneath because this is a short sock, okay? There we go. Give that a tug. Keep those out of the way. And you can see now it's already starting to roll over. Now, because it's rolling over and looks even cleaner because this is not quite the edge of a sock. Right now I'm just creating a neat little pocket, okay, for earbuds or for change or whatever it is. So let's keep going. So now it's, again, 2 full threading moves, all right? So you're going to go slit, knit, slip off, purl. Whoops, drop my needle. Still keeping the yarn underneath, always underneath. Now I'm going to purl, slip off, knit. And I'm not going to lie, the first time I saw this, I thought, wow, that looks really great. But I found it a little fiddly when I started to do it. You know what to do? What I'm going to do? I'm going to tuck these ends, slide these back a little bit so they don't fall off. And I'm just going to tuck these ends into the little pocket just to get them out of my way. All right, there we go. I'm also going to tuck that end in so nothing is now in my way, in our way, and we can see comfortably what we're doing. Great. There we go. Nice and neat. Okay, and we're just going to keep doing that. So go back a little closer to the edges. We are going to knit, slip off, purl, sew through, purl, slip off, knit, sew through. Always, as I said, I'm sorry, oops, I think I'm knitting my hair into the sock. Okay. I still see it. It's right. Okay, hold on. I'm just going off camera to pull that off because it's kind of annoying. Okay. Got rid of that. Sorry about that, guys. I am sure that has happened to many of you out there where you've knit your hair into your garment. So just continue working across, knit, slip off. And what I'm doing, I'm holding on to the stitch. Do you have to? No, but it just feels a little more secure. It's just the way my hands are working. Okay, now, this is what freaks people out about the Kitchener, is that little loop there becomes unwieldy. You are the boss. You tell it what to do. You push it out of your way. Okay, pull that through. Then I'm going to purl and do the next stitch. Whoops. And that's it, guys. That is it. We're getting the same effect. Same thing is happening here. Our stitches are rolling over. But to me, it's a little bit more efficient. I did the 4-step method, seriously up until about a year ago. So I've used it for 19, almost 20 years. It's just in about the last year that I've changed over to this method just because I feel it's a little quicker. And I actually did this over a really, really long project the other day when I worked on a cowl. And I had almost 100 stitches, and this was just so much quicker than the 4 moves. Ugh. I'm just getting frustrated because the yarn's getting caught. Okay. And I'm going to pull this through. Come on. Whoops. There we go. And that's it, guys. That's all you have to do. Okay, I know you like real time, so I'm just going to keep working across because I think it helps to see it over and over. I'm just going to keep going. Pop that up. Then I'm going to go in and off, keeping the yarn down. There you go. Okay, keep going. Knit, slip off. And again, this is more stitches than you would be Kitchenering in a real sock, even in an adult, even in a large size sock. This is, I have 18 stitches on each needle here, okay, because I was still within the body of this little ornament sock. Okay, and that is how you do it. And again, it is the same thing. Same thing would happen when I get to the edge. Now, what I would like to show you, since you've already seen how to end this, the ending is the same. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to keep working across until you get to that last stitch, and then you're just going to pull your needle through as if to knit, pull your needle through as if to purl, and you're done. Now, What I do want to show you is, what if you have to unpick this? What if you get here to this point and you've got just a few stitches left, but you realize there's a glitch somewhere or there's a little mistake somewhere? How do you do that? Take your yarn off the needle. Okay, I've just slid it off. What you want to do is go back and retrace. So I'm going to pull this off, pull this one out. But you have to be careful how you're doing it because you need to catch the stitch. Okay, now this is not, I have never done this on camera before. I'm going to try my best to do this on camera. So there is the loop that I want to put back on my needle. Okay, there it is. And now I'm going to, whoops, hit my camera again. I'm going to pull this thread out again, pull the next thread out. Okay, now I'm done on the back needle. Now I need to come here. So I want to take this off. And I need to find that stitch, which is right there. And I'm going to slide this back onto my needle carefully. Right here. There we go. And I've caught both the working yarn, and now I'm going to pull it out. Well, I've split it. Okay, so let's pull that back out for a sec because I've split it, and I just need to go into the stitch itself. There we go. Perfect. And now I'm going to pull it out. Okay, and you can continue to do that if you need to. All right. Okay. And you would just continue, but make sure now, there's the stitch. Pull this one through so we don't lose it. There's that stitch. You have to make sure you catch the stitch carefully. Oops, I've split the yarn. There we go. And then, oh, sorry. I'm trying to stay close to the camera, but then I keep bumping. I'm recording this on my phone and then I keep bumping into it. So I apologize for that. All right. And then pull this out. Get your yarn. Make sure the same thing applies. You want to make sure that yarn is staying to your right and staying under the needles. And then you're just going to continue. So now where's the next stitch? Oh, it's right there that I have to catch. And now I have to catch it on the front needle. So I'm going to pull this one a little so I don't lose my stitches. Bring this over here, and it's this stitch right here that I need to go into because, as you can see, the thread's coming from here. But if I pull this out, I'm going to lose that stitch. So I'm going to very carefully slide under right here like that. There we go. Grab my end. It doesn't matter which side as long as you're get that thread and pull it back out. And as you can see, that is how you would unweave your stitches in the Kitchener stitch. All right. And that's it, you guys. That is basically what we are doing here. All right. So this now was the Kitchener stitch in sort of 2 moves. Okay. And also how to unweave or undo the Kitchener stitch. There we go. And there you have it, makers. My fearless sock knitters, that is how you do the Kitchener stitch. In 4 moves, in 2 moves, and also how to unpick it. I hope that was helpful to all of you. Please, please, as I've said so many times over the last few classes, please take it slowly. It is not a competition. It is not a race. I feel like people need to hear this over and over and over again. Your knitting does not have to look like mine. It does not have to look like your neighbor's. It is going to look like your knitting, like yours. So just take your time with the Kitchener stitch. Go slowly. Watch the video over and over and over again, and you should be able to get it. Guess what? Here's another thing. You may not like it. You may hate this. You may give this a try and say, oh, absolutely not. I can't stand it. I don't like it. Some of you who have always said that may watch this and go, oh my gosh, I think I finally get it. Wow, okay, now it makes sense. You can go either way. It can absolutely go either way. You may look at it and go, okay, that's an efficient way to work my toe from the top down and close my toe. Great. Add it to my bag of tricks. You may have very strong feelings about it. You may have no feelings about it. You may be very neutral about it. Some of you may be yelling into the camera. You're yelling at the video. Yay. Or some of you may be yelling at the video. Absolutely not. It doesn't matter. Your reaction to it doesn't matter. It is your reaction. It is for you to own. You don't have to like this. You really, really don't. And I know many people who have been taught this face to face. They've seen it from videos. They've read it in books. They just don't like it. And that is the beauty of being able to work toe up, because you do what's called Judy's Magic Cast On. And that weaving that we just did with the needle is done for you in the cast on itself. Okay? And we'll talk about that later. I did get a question whether I was going to be doing a toe up video. Right now, the plan is yes, I will be. I don't have dates for that yet, but I promise to let you know here via an update or a regular podcast episode. And I will keep you informed when that video series will be ready. But right now, it will be happening, but way down the line. So that's the video for today. Sorry, I just got a little alert. I'm just going to move that out of the way. That is the tutorial, you guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I can't wait to hear what you think of this. So please leave your messages down below. Let me know what you think either way. Denise, it was awesome. I love it. I will never do that as long as I live. Can't wait to hear what you think. Thank you so much for watching today and participating in the class. And I will see you in our next class, class 7, which will be 2 at a time. And I also am going to add, which I also think is really important. I was thinking about adding it for the 2 at a time class. Maybe we'll see how whether time and life allow, but I also want to do a color class when you're working with self-striping yarn, as well as making scrappy socks, how to change different colors and how to avoid the jog and how to not have the little blips. And some of you may know immediately what I'm talking about and some of you may need to see it. But when you change color, especially in ribbing, particularly in ribbing, if you want to have multiple colors on your ribbing and it's not built into the self-striping, and even if it is built into the self-striping, there's always a blip on the purl stitch when you change color. There is a way to avoid that. And the first time I learned that, which is, as my mother would say, umpteen years ago, I wanted to throw a parade because I thought it was just miraculous. So there will definitely be a color video because I am just in love with that topic and can't wait to share that information with you as well. So again, that's it for today. Thank you, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye, everybody.